So you're starting your journey as a developer. You've probably seen this huge, sprawling map of technologies and wondered, where do I even begin? Well, today we're going to zero in on the very first, most essential landmark on that map, HTML. Stick with me, because by the end of this, you'll get exactly what its fundamental role is.
All right, let's kick things off with a question. I want you to think about any website you use. I mean, from a super complex site like your social media feed to a really simple blog. What's the one thing that every single one of them has in common? Deep down, what's their fundamental skeleton?
You know the ones. We see them every day. Websites with slick colors, smooth animations, layouts that work perfectly on your phone, all those cool interactive bits. And it's so easy to look at that and think, yep, that's the website. But what you're seeing, that's really just the surface.
Okay, so what happens if we peel back that surface? What if we strip away all that paint and polish? The design, the colors, all the interactive magic? Well, you're left with this. Just pure, raw, underlying structure. And that is HTML. It's the blueprint, the set of instructions that tells the browser, hey, this bit of text is a heading, or this part's a paragraph.
And you gotta understand, this structure isn't just a random jumble of text. It's actually a language. It's the language that every single web browser on the planet is built to understand. It's how they know what to do with all that content. Let's actually break down the name itself, because it tells you pretty much everything you need to know. HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. So hypertext, that's just a fancy word for the links that connect web pages to each other. You know, the very thing that makes the web a web. And markup? Well, that's literally what we're doing. We're taking plain text and marking it up with special tags to give it structure and meaning.
I love this analogy. It just makes so much sense. Think about building a house. If a website is a house, then HTML is the blueprint and the wooden frame. It's the absolute bare-bones structure. You literally can't have a house without it, right? All the other stuff, the paint, the furniture, the plumbing, the electricity, that's your CSS and JavaScript. That all comes later. You've got to have the foundation and frame first.
Okay, now let's place HTML on our developer roadmap. Where exactly does it fit in the grand scheme of things? Well, it's the first piece of what we call the front-end trio. 3 core technologies that absolutely have to work together to create the websites we use every day.
This is so important to get right from the start. Each one of these has a very specific job. So HTML, like we said, is the structure. It's the skeleton. Then you have CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets. That's all about presentation. Think of it as the skin, the colors, the fonts, the layout, everything that makes it look good. And finally, you've got JavaScript. That's the interactivity. It's the muscles that make things happen when you click a button or fill out a form. Skeleton, skin, muscles. Each one has its own vital role.
All right, so we know what HTML is for. Now let's zoom in a little closer on our map and see how it actually, works. The good news is it all comes down to a really simple and consistent set of rules.
So in HTML, every piece of content, like a heading or a paragraph, is wrapped up into something called an element. And pretty much every element has 3 basic parts. You've got an opening tag, then the actual content, the text or image, and then a closing tag. Those tags are what mark up the content and tell the browser what it is. It's really that simple. If you wrap some text in what we call H1 tags, you're telling the browser, hey, this is the most important heading on the page. If you wrap it in P tags, you're just saying, this is a regular old paragraph. The browser sees those tags and knows exactly what to do. And this idea leads us to something that is absolutely critical in modern web development. It's called Semantic HTML. The concept is actually really simple, but it's super powerful. The goal is to use HTML tags that describe the meaning of the content, not just what it looks like. And this is a huge deal. Why? Well, it makes your code way easier for other developers to read. It's also essential for accessibility. And on top of all that, it helps search engines like Google understand what your page is all about. So yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Let's just look at a few key examples here. Instead of using some generic box for everything, we can use a header tag for the stuff at the top of the page, like your logo and navigation. We use a main tag to wrap the main content of the page. And we use a footer tag for the stuff at the bottom, like copyright info. See how that works? You're creating this clear, meaningful outline of your page that both people and computers can instantly understand. Okay, so let's zoom back out and bring this all back to our developer roadmap. Let's just quickly recap what we've mapped out here. Getting a solid grasp on HTML's role as the foundation, that's not just some small step. This is the first major checkpoint on your developer journey. I mean it. Everything else you're going to learn in front-end development is built directly on top of this knowledge. Think about what this means. You now understand the fundamental structure of every single web page out there. You have the foundational knowledge to look at a website and not just see the paint, but to see the blueprint underneath. This is the ground floor. This is the starting point where you'll build everything else.
This is Developer Roadmaps. Map your path, build your career.